Alright, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your own slinkers, and then how to rig them up into when you're actually ready to use them for drift fishing. I do a lot of fly fishing, and when the rivers are up, sometimes conditions are quote-unquote unfishable. Maybe the rivers are just way too cloudy. So sometimes I'll switch this, and either I'll use I'll use a fly rod with just like a strand of 8-pound fluoro for my leader, and then I'll attach my rig and use like a 6-pound tippet. Otherwise, sometimes I carry with a 10.5-foot noodle rod that I'll use this rig on too as well. So I'll show you how to make these. So first, you want to get a hollow core braided either nylon or some kind of poly material, and you want to cut this at least an inch and a half longer than what you'll actually need it. So I'll do that. This particular one I got at Menards. It's just a braided rope, and it has this core in there that I'll be pulling out. So you can go ahead and just pull that out of there, like so. And then what you want to do is melt your first end. So you just go ahead and heat each side, just until I get a good bead of melted material. And it's important to note, you don't want to necessarily start this stuff on fire. Basically, that just makes it more brittle. You just want to melt it. So just as best you can, try not to actually light it on fire. And then go ahead, get a good pair of pliers. You can use lineman pliers. Just squeeze that down, and then you'll end up with something like that. What I like to do at that point is go ahead and just trim this into almost like a little rounded shape. like that, basically. And then you can go ahead, and I like to just take and heat up those edges just a little bit one more time. It kind of takes any sharp edges off that help it prevent it from catching and damage your line. Alright, so now we're ready to add our weight, and for weight I just add .177 caliber steel BBs, just regular BBs for like a BB gun. But I insert a plastic straw down into the braid, and then I just load it with however many BBs I want. And this one I'm gonna put about 10 BBs in. Keep in mind, approximately 86 of these equals 1 ounce, because each one's about 5.1 grains. So if you work it down from there kind of loosely, 10 BBs is about 1/8 of an ounce. If you can, if you're making these slinkers, if you consider the weight of the poly core. So 5 is about 1/16, 20 is about 1/4. So you can just kind of keep that in mind, and you can make a bunch of these in a bunch of different weights. And so then I just take a little metal rod and I shove those down into that core, and then I just go ahead and I grab onto that, and I slowly pull out the straw, and while pushing the BBs down in there. Okay. So now you just want to make sure they're kind of seated down there, as they should be. This one turned out pretty good. And then you want to clip that off about 1/2 an inch longer than where the BBs are. So you can just trim off your excess. Go ahead and get that out of there. And I got about 1/2 an inch extra material right there. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and melt that just like I did the one before. Just kind of keep alternating, going to one side and then the other. And try not to do it directly underneath your face. If you're going to be making a lot of these, I don't think you'll want to be breathing in a lot of the fumes from the plastic. So then just go ahead and clamp that down. Doesn't take long. You'll end up with something like that again. And then I go ahead and I trim off the edges that are flared out a little bit. Just kind of help keep it a little more snag free. That's one of the beauties of these Slinkers, is that they're pretty good at just kind of bouncing over and not getting hung up. So so you're left with something like that. Again, I'm going to heat the edges just to take off any sharp edges. So now we're ready to make a little hole for actually what we're going to use to clip it to our snap swivel. So you just go ahead. This is just a hook shank, fairly heavy wire hook shank. You can use a needle or something. I found that this works pretty good, and I'm just going to go ahead and heat that up. Heat that up for a little bit. Make sure it's good and hot. You still got to be pretty quick. This hook cools off fairly fast. Alright, call that good. Pick that up. Just go ahead and carefully insert that through. And you'll be left with just a little hole in there. And that's going to be what we use to connect it. Alright, so that's basically your finished Slinker. I'll go ahead and just quickly show you how that's rigged up when you're actually ready to fish. This is how I like to rig it. You'd have your main line. Typically I use like an 8-pound fluoro. Just remember, whatever line you use for your main line, make sure your tippet end, or if you know what the hook's actually going to be attached to is at least 2 pounds less with the rating. That way the hook, the line and the hook will break off, and you'll be left with your Slinker and barrel swivel on the end. So on your main line, just slip the snap swivel, just shove the snap swivel on there first. Follow that by some kind of bead. Basically that just protects the knot, and then keeps your swivel from riding up over the barrel swivel. And then just go ahead and tie onto a barrel swivel, whatever one you choose, and then go ahead and tie your tippet line to that. And then you can go ahead and tie on whatever hook of your choice, bait holder, whatever it may be, egg hook, and then you're pretty much ready to fish. This rig does a really good job at keeping your offering down where the fish are going to be. I fish this with live bait and flies. Either one works well. So just another tactic to add to your toolbox. So hope this helps, and hope it catches you fish.